Hello, and thank you for joining us for today's video. This week on Paranormally Listed, we release videos to celebrate both Canada Day and Independence Day. Our Canada Day video is about haunted parks in Canada, and we discuss the horrifying ghost known as the Screaming Doppelganger. The Independence Day video is about ghosts that supposedly haunt the White House. This includes the story of a young boy who apparently haunts the most famous house in America. Today's criminally listed video is about people who confessed out of the blue to crimes they committed decades ago. But before we start, I have a confession of my own. I found a new puzzle game I love, and they're today's sponsor, 2 Dots. Throughout the day, and when I'm winding down for the night, I find there's no better way to relax than by playing a great mobile game. Lately, I've been playing 2 Dots, and I love it. The gameplay is simple, but the puzzles are more complicated than they first appear. Basically, you clear puzzles by connecting 2 or more dots, either vertically or horizontally, but not diagonally. The game has a beautiful minimalist style and great chill-out music. Plus, every week they have a really fun scavenger hunt where you find specific objects. It's a lot like Where's Waldo. They also have a treasure hunt, and once you complete 7 of these treasure hunts, you'll get amazing rewards. What I really like about the game is that it respects the players, and it challenges you early on in the game, so you don't have to play dozens of mind-numbing, easy levels before the game actually becomes fun. I found myself fully engaged after just a few levels. In fact, I can't wait to finish working on this so I can go play a few more levels. I really think you should check out 2 Dots and play it on your downtime. If you download the game via the link below, you'll be supporting Criminally Listed and will greatly appreciate it. Number 3. Brian Edward Jones. In 2001, Janet Luxford was 41 years old and lived in Jacksonville, Florida. She was a charismatic person, and people were often drawn to her. Luxford wasn't educated. She dropped out in the 6th grade. She supported herself by babysitting, bartending, and housekeeping. Luxford suffered from mental illness and dealt with substance abuse. For most of her life, she lived a transient lifestyle and moved around the country. Luxford was the mother of 3 children. Her children were grown, and she didn't raise any of them. On September 22, 2001, Luxford called her daughter Amanda because it was Amanda's birthday. Luxford apparently said some rude things to Amanda. After the phone call, Amanda called her sister, who was Luxford's oldest daughter, Marie Wilhelm. Wilhelm called her mother and told her off for being rude to Amanda. The mother and daughter exchanged some unkind words and then hung up. That was the last time anyone in Luxford's family heard from her. They didn't report her missing until a year later. At that point, the trail was cold. The police learned she had been a housekeeper at a motel in Jacksonville, Florida. But she left in September 2001. She was later traced to a motel room in Bessemer, Alabama, where she had been staying with an unidentified trucker. But beyond that, the police had no idea what happened to the 41-year-old woman. 2 decades went by, and no trace of Janet Luxford was found. Then, on March 27, 2022, the police in Bessemer, Alabama, received a phone call. It was a 62-year-old man named Brian Edward Jones, and he said he had information on a murder. He was calling from a phone booth outside the police station. Some detectives brought him inside, and Jones began to talk. He explained that he had packed all his belongings into 2 suitcases and taken a bus from Ladson, South Carolina to Bessemer. He then came to the police station and worked up the courage to call. He wanted to confess to a murder that he had committed over 20 years earlier. Jones said in February 2001 he was a trucker. His girlfriend was 41-year-old Janet Luxford. Jones said on February 18, 2001, Luxford talked about how she wanted money to travel to California to see some family. They started arguing, and the fight escalated. He said that Luxford hit him with a golf club. He said he pulled the golf club away and hit her in the throat with it. She fell to the floor and died within minutes. 2 days after confessing, Jones led them to a wooded area not far from the motel. In a green garment bag, the police found some human bones. Dental records proved that they were the remains of Janet Luxford. Jones was asked why he waited so long to confess. He said that he didn't want to disappoint his parents. His parents died the year before, in 2021. After Luxford went missing, Jones was questioned because they had been dating in the fall of 2001. He initially told the police that he gave her $300 and he assumed she went to visit her family in California. There is some confusion regarding the date of the murder. Jones was sure he killed Luxford on February 18, 2001 because it was the same day that Dale Earnhardt was killed at the Daytona 500. But Luxford's daughters are sure they spoke to her nearly a half a year later on September 22, 2001. So they believe she was murdered sometime after that. Nevertheless, Brian Jones was charged with murder and abuse of a corpse. Jones has yet to go to trial. At the time of this video, he is being held at the Jefferson County Jail, Bessemer. Number 2. Willis Davis. Xavier Crockett was born in Las Vegas, Nevada on April 8, 1981. Xavier was the oldest child in his family. He had 7 younger sisters. Unfortunately, when Xavier got into his teens, he started getting in trouble and hanging out with the wrong crowd. When he was 13, he was arrested after he and another boy were joyriding in a car that the other boy stole. He was placed on probation and had to work with a nonprofit group that helped troubled youths. The group seemed to help, and Xavier's family thought he was on a better path. Xavier never got good grades in school, but his family wasn't overly concerned because he was a hard worker, so they knew he would get a good job after school. Sometime in 1996, Xavier's family's home was destroyed by a fire. So they moved to Summerlin, Las Vegas. But Xavier didn't want to move because he liked his high school. He convinced his mother and stepfather to let him live with his aunt in Las Vegas while he continued attending school. His mother would call daily to ensure he was staying out of trouble. On November 8, 1996, Xavier didn't attend school, which was unusual. He then didn't come home to his aunt's home. Xavier's family spent the night looking for him, but they turned up nothing. It took 2 weeks before 15-year-old Xavier Crockett's family discovered what had happened to him. The bodies of 15-year-old Xavier Crockett and his 14-year-old friend, Jason Alexander Moore, were found in the desert in North Las Vegas. A utility worker found their bodies the morning after the boys went missing. It took 2 weeks to identify the bodies. The 2 bodies were about 180 feet from each other. They both had been shot to death with a .380 caliber gun. Sadly, it wasn't long before the cases went cold. 25 long years went by. Then, on February 2, 2021, 43-year-old Willis King Davis was stopped by the police while he was jaywalking. He was searched and a gun was found on him, so he was arrested. Once in police custody, Davis said he wanted to confess to killing people. He explained that when he was in his teens, he was a member of the GPK gang. On May 18, 1996, his gang decided to do a drive-by shooting in the area where their rival gang, NTG, was known to hang out. Davis, who was 18 years old at the time, said they came across a young man waiting at a bus stop and they decided to kill him. Davis said he shot him several times. The police identified the victim as 18-year-old John Muldrow Jr. Davis then said he was friends with Xavier Crockett and Jason Moore. He was walking through the desert with them, and he asked to see a gun that one of them was carrying. 19-year-old Davis then shot 14-year-old Jason Moore in the head. 15-year-old Xavier then ran, and Davis chased him. He shot him in the neck and the head. Davis said that he killed the boys because one of them was a member of a rival gang, and several of his fellow gang members had given him a hard time for being friends with him. Davis gave details about all three murders that only someone involved in the murders could have known. This included what type of guns were used in the murders. After 25 years, the police felt that the cases were closed, and they charged Davis with 3 counts of murder. The investigators were amazed. One investigator said that in his 29-year career, he had only experienced one other unprovoked confession. The week following his confessions, Davis recanted them. He claimed he had been high on PCP and didn't remember what he told the police. The police record did not indicate that Davis was under the influence of any drugs or alcohol. Davis said that other gang members committed the murders and they had told him details about it. That is why he had the information about the murders. When he was asked to reveal the identity of the killers, he refused to say because he wasn't a snitch. Willis Davis went to trial for the 3 murders in September 2021. He was found guilty of all 3. He was given 2 sentences of 40 years to life and another sentence of life without the possibility of parole. 44-year-old Willis Davis is serving a sentence at the High Desert State Prison in Indian Springs, Nevada. Number 1. Johnny Robertson. On May 7, 2001, a 58-year-old man going by the name Johnny Quinn walked into the police station in Valdosta, Georgia. He was calm and friendly. He then shocked the officers because he said he wanted to confess to 4 murders that he had committed over the past 32 years. The police thought it was odd because he didn't come across as a multiple murderer. He explained that his real name was Johnny Robertson and he was from Cottondale, Florida. Robertson said the first murder he committed was on November 16, 1968. He broke into the home of his ex-girlfriend, Shelly Ann Reese, in Enterprise, Alabama. She was in the bedroom with her new boyfriend, Kyle Pearson. Pearson was married and had 10 children. Robertson said he shot Pearson in the bedroom. Shelly Reese ran out the house through the back door. Robertson said he followed her and shot her in the back. She managed to get across the alley behind her house to her neighbor's home. She collapsed on the back stop. The neighbor and her 6-year-old grandson tried to pull her into their house. Robertson ran up to Reese and shot her one more time. Then he ran from the scene. The police were summoned and they found Kyle Pearson dead in Reese's bedroom. Reese was taken to the hospital and she survived. She told the police that the shooter was her ex-boyfriend, Johnny Robertson. The police went to arrest Robertson, but he had skipped town. Shelly Reese ended up dying 3 years later. 14 years later, in 1972, Robertson was living in Detroit, Michigan, and he was married. What happened isn't exactly clear, but Robertson's wife was killed, and he was convicted of manslaughter in 1973. He was sentenced to 15 years in prison. In 1975, he was serving a sentence at the Detroit Downtown Correction Center. He managed to escape from prison, and he was never recaptured. He made his way to Albany, Georgia, where he got married again to a woman named Kathy Gaines Taylor. On May 20th, 1982, 29-year-old Taylor was found strangled to death with a belt in the bathtub of her home. By the time her body was found, Robertson was long gone. He ended up in Tallahassee, Florida. In 1984, 2 years after killing Taylor, he murdered an unidentified 26-year-old woman. Less than a year later, in February 1985, he strangled to death another 26-year-old woman whom he shared an apartment with. If Robertson knew her name, he did not share it with the police. Robertson said he had been living in Valdosta for the past 7 years. He lived just a few blocks from the police station and did yard work for the sheriff's department. The morning that Robertson confessed, he said he ate a large breakfast at a fast food restaurant and ate most of a watermelon. After Robertson confessed, the police investigated the details he gave, and they believed that Robertson was telling the truth. Using the information that he gave them, they thought they would be able to identify the 2 unnamed victims. But if they did, that information was not made public. In a jailhouse interview, Robert said he wanted to clear his conscience. He said they had diabetes and hepatitis C and he did not expect to live long. But he didn't feel any remorse for what he did. He said that everyone he killed deserved it. They had either cheated him out of love or money. He had 3 other people he would kill if he got the chance. One was his roommate in Valdosta. He said he wanted to cut him up because he had badgered him. Another was a man who worked at a juvenile reform home that Robertson was forced to attend for 3 years after he dropped out of grade 9. He said that the man would beat him for even minor infractions. The third man was someone who slept with one of his wives. Robertson said it wasn't hard for him to evade the police for decades. He said that he kept calm, and when he needed to, he would move to a new city. He would move to poor parts of the city where the police wouldn't notice him. After Johnny Robertson confessed, he was sent back to Michigan to continue serving the sentence for the 1973 manslaughter conviction. He was then extradited to Alabama to stand trial for the murder of Kyle Pearson. In December 2004, 62-year-old Johnny Robertson pleaded guilty. He was sentenced to life plus 20 years in prison. According to the Alabama Department of Corrections, Johnny Robertson was supposed to be transferred there after serving his sentence in Michigan. But there are no records of Robertson in the Michigan inmate database. Since Robertson was in poor health 18 years ago, it would not be surprising if he died in the Michigan prison. However, no obituary or death notice could be found, so his current status and whereabouts are unknown. Thank you so much for watching today's video. Please don't forget to check out our wonderful sponsor, the incredibly fun puzzle game 2 Dots. You can download the game via the link below this video. Thank you again for watching.